Meet Allie, a 15-year-old closeted lesbian attending high school in rural Northern California. She often feels a lack of visible support from peers and wishes there was a way for her to connect with other members of the LGBTQ community at her school. Last week, Allie found a flyer that her school had put up informing students that the Not Alone Project would be presenting to her whole high school the following week. On the day of the presentation, Allie attends homeroom in a very good mood. Her homeroom teacher begins the morning announcements reminding the class of the Not Alone Project presentation occurring after lunch and reviews the school schedule changes. Her teacher then provides the class with a link to an anonymous submission board explaining that students are encouraged to submit any points of discussion or personal experiences they would like potentially discussed in the Q&A portion of the presentation. Allie writes, "I feel like I'm so alone at this school because I'm a girl who likes girls. I feel totally isolated and I don't even know if there are other girls at this school that feel the same way that I do." After lunch, the school gathers in the auditorium for the Not Alone Project assembly. A licensed clinical social worker introduces herself to the crowd and begins the presentation. "First, I would like to share some of my own story with you before we begin," the presenter says. "My name is Melissa and I am a local licensed clinical social worker. I use she, her pronouns and I identify as bisexual. I too went to high school in a rural area and often felt like I was the only one questioning my sexuality in the whole school. I know there are some of you out there right now that feel the same way." As you will see throughout this presentation, the Not Alone Project approaches LGBTQ topics in a way that is easy to understand. While we hope there are no faculty, staff, or students at this school actively spreading homophobia, the Not Alone Project acknowledges that all of these areas must be addressed in order to prevent the hateful actions from going without consequences. Allie is very appreciative that the Not Alone Project plans to actively involve the entire school population, as she herself has witnessed homophobia in the hallways. The presentation begins covering topics such as different LGBTQ terms, pronouns, ally terms and concepts, as well as how to be a better ally. Allie especially appreciates the conversation around heterosexism, as she herself often feels uncomfortable when people make the assumption that she would have a boyfriend and not a girlfriend. When looking at the everyday examples, Allie thinks to herself, "Wow, I feel so validated by this." As the presentation begins to wind down, the final Q&A portion begins. Allie is feeling a little nervous to hear what other people wanted to say. "This morning, your homeroom teacher gave you all a link to send in an anonymous statement or question. Our team has been combing through these submissions and found some very interesting trends," says the presenter, Melissa. 16 of you submitted a response stating that you are a girl who likes girls and feels completely alone at this school, or that you think there's no one else like you here. After this presentation is over, we will be handing out a resource brochure as you leave. There are several different local LGBTQ+ groups listed where you can meet other people from your community," explains Melissa. Allie feels extremely happy. There are so many other people at this school that feel the same way she does. After the presentation has ended, the students are invited to access a therapist on site if the presentation brought up any difficult feelings or they just want to speak to someone confidentially. Allie feels validated by the presentation and is excited to see more acceptance and support at her high school.